Hey everyone, have I got news for you?
What the heck?
Squeeze
No
me?
way.
No way.
What?
This first video comes to us from TikTok user Levert Blount. He's one of my favorite TikTokers, and if you want to support the work of Levert Blount, here's his Cash App. It's Levert B, LEVERTB. You can also PayPal him at VertB or Venmo him at LevertB. You can also email him at vertthebassman, BASSMAN at gmail.com. And this TikTok is talking about what's going to happen with the states' rights, with states reverting back to their own laws once the Supreme Court sends cases that have guaranteed our rights under the Constitution back to the states. In this video, Levert is responding to a comment question about Plessy versus Ferguson, and moreover, with the Supreme Court at its lowest approval rating and trust rating in the history of America, which according to the recent Gallup poll shows that the Supreme Court's approval went down 20 points in just the last 2 years, and especially with regards to the rights of individuals guaranteed under the Constitution and rights that we thought were already settled law, such as Roe v. Wade, which now, through these extreme hands-off and send it back to the states to decide approach to legislation, which the Supreme Court has been taking, will cause many of our rights to be rolled back to whatever state you live in and what they decide your rights should be. Which means that many states will have archaic and unconstitutional laws that still sit on their books, reverting back to those laws once the Supreme Court gives them carte blanche to do what they will, just like they did with Roe v. Wade. Many people have been speculating that the Supreme Court will roll back and send back to the states to decide a whole range of other issues, from same-sex marriage to interracial marriage, and even whether or not Black and Indigenous people can be enslaved. So this is the video about slavery in 2022.
Hey, good morning. I'm so glad you brought up Plessy versus Ferguson, because you know Plessy lost, right? Yeah, Homer Plessy lost that case. The court ruled that racial segregation did not violate the Constitution as long as the facilities are separate but equal. Yeah, that's where separate but equal came from, that case. It was Brown v. Board of Education that ended racial segregation in this country, and Republicans today are still trying to overturn Brown v. Board of Education. And if they succeed, it doesn't take us back to Plessy versus Ferguson. It takes us back to the 13th Amendment. Now, the 13th Amendment states that slavery shall exist within the United States as a punishment for anyone duly convicted of a crime. And that takes us back to today, where states like Louisiana and Alabama have slavery on the ballot. That's right. In 2022, you still have about 5 states that have slavery on the ballot, including my home state of Louisiana. And if Brown is overturned and enslavement as punishment for crime is not written out of state laws, then all that takes us back to Scott v. Sanford, where the Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution does not apply to Black people free or enslaved, and that the Negro has no rights that the white man is bound to respect. And remember, historically, Negro did not just simply mean Black people. It also included indigenous people as well.
This next TikTok video comes to us from user at the Conscious Lee. On his TikTok page, it states under his bio that education is elevation. YouTube, Black Voices, Class of 22, and Young a contributor to the Young Turks. You can follow all of his content by checking out his website, snipfeed.co/The Conscious Lee. On his website, he talks about himself as a social media sensation. Conscious Lee isn't your typical educator, influencer, or corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion instructor. Lee's intellectual, debating, hip-hop dancing, thought-provoking, and workshop facilitating keynote speakers proves that black intellectuals don't have to play respectability politics to deliver a message that resonates. In this video, he talks about an upcoming documentary on Rosa Parks, saying, "We've been lied to about Rosa Parks." Paramount Plus has offered a first-look trailer on this documentary on the civil rights icon Rosa Parks, which debuts on streaming services on October 19th, including Peacock, one of NBC's streaming services. The rebellious life of Miss Rosa Parks is based on Jean Theodoris's biography and executive produced by Soledad O'Brien. It looks at Parks's often overlooked breadth of accomplishments and the impact of her fight to overcome racial injustice, according to Paramount Plus and Peacock. The documentary will feature personal stories from her family, as well as interviews with academics and activists such as Brian Stevenson, Patrisse Cullors, and Erica Huggins. The Rosa Parks of America history, the quiet, demure, and tired seamstress taking a seat on the bus, is simply a fable, O'Brien said in a statement. The real Rosa Parks, whom we explore in this film, is a lifelong activist, outspoken strategist, and freedom fighter. Let's listen.
We was lied to about this woman, man.
By the time I was 6, I was old enough to realize that we were actually not free. The Ku Klux Klan was riding through the black community, burning churches, killing people. I later learned that it was because African American soldiers were returning from World War I and acting as if they deserved equal rights because they had served their country. At one point, the violence was so bad that my grandfather kept his gun close by at all times. My grandfather was going to defend his home, whatever happened. I wanted to see him shoot that gun.
That was the story of Rosa Parks, man. And when you think about the ways in which we've been indoctrinated to understand the legacy of Rosa Parks, and you hear her tell her own story and people around her tell her story, it becomes obvious that we've been hoodwinked and bamboozled. I would argue, especially after watching this project, that the way in which we're taught about the civil rights movement is used as a pacifier and a way to tone police black people on the ways in which it's great for us to have resistance and the ways in which it's wrong. And when you think about and go back and relearn what Rosa Parks actually did, you'll see that it's a fake dualism that they taught us during the civil rights movement about, nonviolence and people being self-defense. You feel me? For instance, Rosa Parks not only was with the self-defense, you feel me, and grew up rebellious, saying that she'd rather be lynched than, be mistreated by the Ku Klux Klan. The beginning of this film right here, the beginning of this video as well, it shows you a lot of the parallels that she has with Malcolm X. And we see that the way you brought up and the way that you brought up and having to resist and navigate systems of white supremacy, it usually dictates, you feel me, the way you believe you're supposed to resist. They did not teach us that Rosa Parks and Malcolm X was cool, or they didn't teach us that Rosa Parks was a big admirer of Malcolm X. You feel me? There are a lot of radical things about this woman that I feel like they purposely omitted. Like, for instance, she was an advocate of reparations. Believe that? Put it like this, man. Education is elevation. If you want to learn more about the rebellious life of Miss Rosa Parks, I would encourage you to go to Peacock and check out this little documentary because, man, oh, man, we have been lied to. Why they sanitize and romanticize this woman's legacy like that?
Finally, I'm bringing you a video response, actually, from TikToker at mad_in_craft. At mad_in_craft, aka Julie Storm. And if you're interested in doing generational work to undo the indoctrination that white women have suffered in America, you can visit her website to download her workshop or check out the rest of her content at snipfeed.co/mad_in_craft. In this video response, I want to have you listen to the original TikToker that she was responding to, at Desiree B. Stevens, who is a black woman, BIPOC woman, that stands for Black and Indigenous Person of Color, and the ways in which white women tone police other women, especially non-white women, as well as everyone else around them. So first I want to hear from at Desiree B. Stevens, responding to a white woman, asking her why her tone and why her speech sounds offensive and mean to her as a white woman. Let's take a listen to how white people get offended easily by the tone of black or BIPOC people.
Hi. So here, I don't know if you watched any of my other videos, right? I'm going to help you out with some things. Why do you come across so condescending? I couldn't tell you why I come across to you so condescending, because that means that's how you're perceiving me and that's how you're receiving me, right? So that's your interpretation of me. And then that means that you're seeing me as superior. I'm not coming off as superior. I do know what I'm talking about. Like, if that's what it is that I am very sure of myself. So if you feel that it's me coming off as superior, I'm telling you that you're teeter-tottering very close to uppity Negro. And then I'm going to say you're closer to that because it says, are you trying to be mean? I come off very kind, loving. It's always with love. It's intentionally given with love. I feel I'm missing something here. You are the unpacking of your whiteness as a system. These are supremacist thoughts. You have a problem with me being sure of myself. There you go.
All right. And now here's the response from at mad_in_craft, aka Julie Storm, about how there's a history of white women being indoctrinated in America and how white women are doing this tone policing many times without even being aware. Take a listen.
Okay, this is a lot to unpack, and I'm warning you now, once you do it, it can't be undone. And I'm saying that because there's no way your mother didn't participate in this. It is so deeply ingrained in our culture. So here we go. First up, racism is a symptom of the war that we've really been fighting this entire time, which is a culture war. And to understand how our mothers taught us to survive this culture and, in essence, prop it up, we have to understand how it was formed. So let's do a Cliff Notes of history run through of the culture of white women in America. So the British Christian Empire colonized everything and brought with them their culture. And what does their culture say about women? A woman is responsible for original sin. A woman asks for the head of John the Baptist. A woman cuts off Samson's hair and steals his power. And you've heard of Jezebel. So when they ripped the rest of us white women away from our original indigenous cultures, which were much more balanced in terms of the male-female, divine and feminine, divine masculine power structure, they had to get us into control fairly quickly, lest we lead them astray. If you're keeping track, that means what it means to be a proper woman is now defined by the culture of the British Christian Empire. Our school dress codes are still defined by this concept. We have to protect our vulnerable young men from the vision of our sin-inducing bodies. We tried to rebel against it, and we got the witch trials for our troubles. Friendly reminder here that in American schools we are largely introduced to the witch trials in conjunction with the play The Crucible, which is an allegory that essentially sums the whole thing up into you silly women did this to yourselves. So those tactics start to be frowned upon and they have to switch strategy. While they are controlling the black people and the indigenous with slavery and genocide, they are controlling their women with the rise of psychology. Go back and look at some of the things that a woman could have been committed for back then, and you're going to find things like reading too much, being too opinionated, being too argumentative with her husband, just being emotionally expressive at all. They wanted their women quiet, modest, and uninformed. It was also legal for a man to beat his wife back then, so our mothers had to teach us how not to get burned at the stake, not to get committed, not to get beaten or worse. How did they do this? By policing our emotional and physical presentations to the world, our tone. This is partly how the tropes of the angry black woman and the spicy Latina woman got created, because those are emotive traits that we are not allowed to have, right? Because our culture is more civilized. Now we started getting hip to all of this outright oppression, and it led to us fighting for our right to vote, so they have to switch strategy again. And right on time, along comes the rise of advertising in the 50s to save them. And now they can convince us to buy what they used to have to force on us. Now it's inundating us every day, hiding in plain sight. How this manifested interpersonally is it taught us to live and die by our tone, to determine friend or foe by our tone, and we police tone in each other out of fear to keep each other alive. And now half the time we don't even know we're doing it.
And now, you know.
I feel smarter now.
Thanks.
That's so... Oh, I get it.
Amazing.
Cool.
Whoa.